Hi, I'm Christy. I want to talk to you today about the impact that living with special needs can have on the stress in your life and in your family's lives. Now, we all know that stress is a fact of everyday life. And for the most part, we learn how to deal with it and adapt to it, some more effectively than others. But as I've said before, when you add special needs to the mix, everything gets more complicated. Today, I want to focus specifically on how parents and caregivers and siblings are impacted by the extra stress. One article I found is at Expert Beacon. It has this quote: "Stress is common in any family. Parenting a child with special needs brings with it many additional challenges." The article goes on to give a list of do's and don'ts and a little bit of detail for each. Things like, do acknowledge that stress is more common in families with a special needs child. Identify your sources of stress. Become an expert on your child's condition. Get healthy. And develop a stress management toolkit. The don't list includes things like, don't judge yourself too harshly. Don't belittle someone else's stress. Don't ignore your stress. Don't neglect your health. And don't over-identify yourself as a parent of a special needs child. I think the article is a really good overview, and I really like their list of suggestions. Another article I found is on childmind.org, and this one talks specifically about caregiver burnout. Parents can face this in general many times, but when you have special needs, it's definitely more common. Inside the article is this quote: "Parenting can be stressful under the best of circumstances, but moms and dads of children with developmental and mental health challenges often have to deal with strain of a different magnitude. Caring for a child with special needs can become a full-time job, and an overwhelming one at that, if you don't have adequate support. Without enough help, parents may be headed toward caregiver burnout, which negatively affects everyone." End quote. The article addresses several issues that pertain to this and makes suggestions that can help you alleviate these problems with realistic solutions. Another article that I found was from the Episcopal Center for Children. It gives 10 tips for parents and guardians of children with special needs. Now, many of these seem a bit obvious when you just read them and look at them at face value. But sometimes when life is getting crazy and we're overwhelmed with things, being reminded of the obvious can be very helpful. I think it's a great article. It should take you just a few minutes to read, and I hope it gives you some needed suggestions. If we switch over to the sibling side of things, many siblings find that they receive less attention and/or support from their parents. Depending on the child, they can see this as a positive or a negative. Some siblings just tend to bottle everything up inside because they understand that their parents are busy, they don't want to add to the stress. There's an article that makes suggestions to parents about the siblings. You can find it at childmind.org. Their suggestions include things like talk openly about the situation, spread the support around, set aside time for each child, try to treat all children the same, and look at the positive. Each of these is explained in more detail in the article. And again, some of them seem obvious, but when life is overwhelming, this list might just be the lifesaver that you need to help give you focus and realize that you can do this. A final article I found is also found on childmind.org. This one gives 2 different lists, one to parents, one to siblings. To the parents, they say, build a wide support system. Be open with your children and include them in the decision making, and set aside special time for each child. To the siblings, they say reach out to others. Make special time for your sibling, but also make time for yourself. And focus on how your experiences have helped you. So as I end this video, my question to you is this: how has the additional stress impacted your life? What about your family's lives? I'd love to hear your experiences. You can leave a comment for me below, or you can leave a comment for me on my blog at www.havenofhopeforme.com. This post originally posted in April of 2018, and you can find specific links to each of these articles on that blog post. As we work to handle stress effectively, I hope that you can agree with me and say that life is good, and there is never a dull moment.